Dr. Minho Park wiped his tired eyes and looked at the computer screen again. It was 3 in the morning at the radio telescope station in Puerto Rico. Most people were sleeping. But Minho and his team worked all night listening to space. The big metal dishes outside pointed up at the stars. They caught radio waves from faraway places in space. Usually, they only heard noise, like the sound of wind, but from space instead of air. "Dr. Park, come look at this," said Hannah, his young assistant. She sounded worried and excited at the same time. Minho walked over to her desk. Hannah had been working at the space station for only 2 years, but she was very smart. She could spot strange signals better than people who had worked there much longer. "What do you see?" Minho asked. "Look at this pattern." Hannah pointed at her screen. "It keeps repeating every 47 seconds, but it's not natural noise from stars or planets." Minho leaned closer. On the screen, he could see waves going up and down, but these waves were different. They made a pattern, like music notes written down on paper. "How long has this been coming in?" he asked. 3 days, maybe longer. The computer only noticed it 6 hours ago, because the signal is so weak. Minho felt his heart beat faster. In all his 20 years of listening to space, he had never seen anything like this. The pattern showed numbers, not random numbers, but special ones. First came prime, numbers like 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. Then came geometric shapes made of numbers, then something else. "Hannah, where is this signal coming from?" She typed on her computer. "A star system called Kepler 442. It's 47 light-years away from Earth." Minho sat down hard in a chair. 47 light-years meant the signal had been traveling through space for 47 years before reaching Earth. Whatever sent this message had done it before Minho was even born. "Are you sure this isn't a mistake?" he asked. "I checked everything 3 times. The signal is real, and min-ho, ... Hannah's voice became very quiet. "The last part of the pattern. I think it's asking for help." They spent the next 4 hours checking their work. They ran the signal through every computer program they had. They compared it to natural space sounds. They even checked if it might be coming from a human satellite that got lost. Nothing matched. This signal came from another star, and it was made by someone intelligent. As the sun started to rise over Puerto Rico, Minho made a decision that would change everything. He picked up his secure phone and called the director. "Sir, this is Dr. Park at Arecibo. I need to report a Code 7 discovery." Code 7 meant possible contact with alien intelligence. Minho had never used those words before. Within 2 hours, scientists from around the world were connected to their computers. Teams in Australia, Japan, Russia, and America all turned their big radio dishes toward Kepler-442. Everyone heard the same thing. The signal was getting weaker each day, but it was definitely there. Dr. Sarah Kim from the Korean Space Institute joined the team by video call. "We've run language analysis programs on the signal," she said. "The mathematical patterns suggest a species that understands physics and geometry at least as well as we do." "But what are they saying?" asked Dr. Martinez from Spain. Minho looked at all the faces on his computer screen. Scientists from 12 countries were now working together, trying to understand this message from the stars. "The first part teaches us their mathematics," Minho explained. "Prime numbers are the same everywhere in the universe. Any smart species would know them. The second part shows they understand geometry, circles, triangles, that kind of thing." "And the third part?" asked Dr. Kim. Hannah spoke up. "We think it's a distress call. The pattern matches theoretical emergency signals that scientists wrote about years ago. If we wanted to ask for help from aliens, this is exactly how we would do it." The room became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Somewhere, 47 light-years away, people were in trouble. They had sent a message asking for help, and it had taken almost 50 years to reach Earth. "How long has their civilization been sending this?" asked Dr. Martinez. We don't know, Minho said, but the signal is getting weaker. Our computers think whoever is sending it doesn't have much power left. Dr. Kim leaned forward on the video screen. So we might be listening to the last words of an entire alien species. Minho nodded, unless someone can help them. The next day, newspapers around the world carried the same headline in different languages. Scientists detect alien distress call, but the news articles couldn't capture what Minho felt as he listened to that repeating signal. Somewhere in the darkness between the stars, people were dying. They had reached out across impossible distance, hoping someone would hear them, and now, finally, someone had. The question was, what could humanity possibly do to help people who lived 47 years away at the speed of light? Minho didn't know the answer yet, but as he listened to that fading signal from space, he knew they had to try. Kythok's claws shook as he adjusted the old transmitter one more time. The underground room was dark except for the weak green glow from the machine's dying power cells. Above them, through many layers of rock and metal, their sun was killing their world with deadly light. Elder Kythok, the power is almost gone, said Samway, his young student. Her scales, once bright blue like ocean water, were now pale and sick from the bad radiation that leaked into their shelter. Kythok was old now. He remembered when their people, the Velinari, lived in beautiful crystal cities that reached toward the sky. He remembered when their sun was yellow and warm, not the angry red monster it had become. That was before the sun started sending out waves of death that burned everything on the surface. How many more messages can we send? He asked. Samway looked at the power meter. Maybe 10, maybe less. 10 messages. 10 chances to reach someone, anyone, in the vast darkness of space. Kythok felt heavy sadness in his chest. His people had been the greatest builders in their part of the galaxy. They had built machines that could fly between planets. They had made art and music and poetry. Now only 8,000 of them were left, hiding in holes in the ground like frightened animals. The transmitter beeped. It was ready to send another message into space. The Council still thinks we are wasting power, Samway said quietly. Elder Rashka says, no one will ever hear us. She says we should use the power for life support instead. Kythok understood why the other leaders thought this way. Their shelters were failing. The air recyclers made strange noises. The water purifiers were breaking down. Food was running out. Every bit of power was precious. What do you think, Samway? He asked his student. The young Velinari was quiet for a long moment. She was smart, maybe the smartest of her generation. If anyone would have new ideas, it would be her, I think, she said slowly, that somewhere in all those stars, there might be people like us. People who look up and wonder what's out there. People who would want to help if they could. Kythok smiled, the first real smile he had felt in months. Yes, that's what I think too. He started the transmitter. The machine hummed and sent their message out into space at the speed of light. The message was simple, but careful. It used mathematics that any smart species would understand. Prime numbers, geometric shapes, and at the end, a pattern that meant, help us, please. The message would travel for many years before it reached other star systems. Kythok would be dead, long before it arrived anywhere. Maybe all the Velinari would be dead. But maybe, just maybe, someone would be listening. Tell me again about the calculations, Samway said. Kythok pulled up the star maps on his computer. The screen showed hundreds of nearby stars, but only a few had planets that might support life. Here, he pointed to a small yellow star. This one is 47 light-years away. It has planets in the right place for liquid water, if anyone lives there, and if they have radio telescopes, and if they are listening. ... double quotes. He paused. It's a lot of ifs, but it's possible. It's possible. Samway helped him prepare the next message. They had learned to make their signal as clear as possible while using very little power. Every number had to count. Every pattern had to be perfect. In other parts of their dying world, the remaining Velinari tried to survive one more day. The children had never seen sunlight. The adults remembered the old world, but those memories felt like dreams now. The shelters were crowded and smelled bad. People got sick and died. There wasn't enough medicine, enough food, enough hope. Elder, Kaithok Samway asked, what if someone does hear us? What if they want to help? How could they help from so far away? It was a good question. Kaithok had thought about it many times. Even if aliens existed, even if they were friendly, even if they had amazing technology, how could they reach across 47 light years? Nothing could travel faster than light. Any help would take decades to arrive. I don't know, he admitted, but I think about it this way. If we found a message from another world asking for help, what would we do? Samway considered this. Before our sun went bad, when we were strong, we would have tried to help. We would have sent medicine, or food, or maybe even rescue ships. Yes. And if we could do that, maybe others can too. The transmitter finished sending another message. Only 9 more to go before the power died forever. Other Velinari had given up hope. They spent their time sleeping or talking about the old days. But Kaithok and Samway kept working. Every day they sent out their call for help. They didn't know that in 17 different star systems, other alien species had noticed pieces of their signal. Most of these aliens thought it was just natural noise from space. They didn't listen carefully enough to hear the pattern. But around one small yellow star, on a blue planet covered with water and clouds, creatures called humans had big radio dishes pointed at the sky. And humans, it turned out, were very good at listening. Admiral Yoonji Nam stood in front of the biggest meeting room she had ever seen. Representatives from 50 countries sat at a huge round table. The President of Korea was there, the Prime Minister of Japan, the Secretary General of the United Nations, scientists, military leaders, and politicians from all over Earth. On the wall behind her, a giant screen showed the Kepler 442 star system, spinning slowly in space. It looked so small and far away. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Nam began, we have a problem that no human has ever faced before. 47 light years away, an entire alien species is dying. They asked us for help. The question is, what can we do? Dr. Minho Park stood up from his seat. Everyone knew him now. His face had been on television and in newspapers around the world after he discovered the alien signal. We've learned a lot in the past 6 months, Minho said. The aliens call themselves the Velinari. Their sun is sending out deadly radiation. They're hiding underground, but their shelters are failing. Our computers think they have maybe 5 to 10 years left. The Russian representative raised his hand. Dr. Park, even our fastest spaceships would take thousands of years to reach them. How can we possibly help? Minho looked nervous. He had been asked this question hundreds of times, and he still didn't like giving the answer. We can't send people, he said, but we might be able to send help. Admiral Nam pressed a button on her remote control. The screen changed to show technical drawings of a huge spaceship. It looked different from any spaceship humans had ever built before. This is Project Thunderbolt, she said. A robot ship that would carry everything the Velinari need to save their world. Medical supplies, machines to clean their air and water, technology to protect them from radiation, food seeds, even a complete copy of all human knowledge. The room was very quiet. Everyone stared at the pictures on the screen. The ship was enormous, 300 meters long. It had no crew compartments because no humans would ride in it. Instead, it was packed with survival equipment and powerful computers that could work for decades without breaking down. How would it get there so fast? Asked the German representative. Admiral Nam clicked to the next picture. Fusion pulse drive. controlled nuclear explosions, pushing the ship forward. We could get it up to 12% of light speed. The journey would take 47 years. 47 years. Everyone in the room did the math in their heads. Most of them would be dead by the time the ship arrived at the alien world. Dr. Hannah Lee, now the head of the alien language team, stood up. The Velinary signal is getting weaker every day. If we're going to send help, we need to launch within 18 months. After that, it might be too late. The British representative looked worried. What would this cost? Admiral Nam had been dreading this question. About $600 billion. Half of what every country on Earth spends on space programs combined. The room exploded in angry voices. People shouted in different languages. Some slammed their hands on the table. "Impossible," yelled the American representative. "We can't bankrupt our space programs for aliens we've never even seen." "Think about what we're asking," said the French representative. "Spend enormous amounts of money on a ship that might not work, to help people we might never meet, on a world we'll never visit?" But other voices disagreed. "If we don't try, millions of innocent people will die," said the Canadian representative. "This is what separates us from animals," added the Swedish representative. "The ability to help others even when it costs us something." Dr. Minho Park asked for quiet. When the room settled down, he spoke in a soft voice that everyone had to lean forward to hear. "I want to tell you something," he said. "Every night for 6 months, I've listened to that signal from space. It's getting weaker. Sometimes I think about the person sending it. Maybe it's a scientist like me, working alone in some underground room, hoping someone will hear them." He paused and looked around the room. "They don't know if we even exist. They don't know if we're smart enough to understand their message. They don't know if we care about strangers. But they keep sending it anyway, using up their last bit of power, because they have hope." The room was completely silent now. "What kind of people are we?" Minho continued. "Are we the kind who help when someone asks for help? Or are we the kind who say, it's too expensive, too hard, too far away?" Secretary General Park Dongmin of the United Nations stood up slowly. He was an old man who had spent his whole life trying to get countries to work together. "We are being asked to do something impossible," he said. "Send help across a distance so vast that light itself takes 47 years to cross it. The cost is enormous. The chances of success are small. Most of us will be dead before we know if it worked." He looked around the room at all the worried faces. "But if we succeed, we will have done something no species in the history of the galaxy has ever done. We will have reached across the void to save complete strangers. That's who we could choose to be." The vote took 3 hours. It was close. 89 countries voted yes. 67 voted no. Project Thunderbolt was approved. Humanity would try to save the Velinary. The countdown started at 10. Dr. Minho Park watched from mission control as numbers flashed on the big screen. He was 62 years old now, with gray hair and wrinkles around his eyes. 18 months had passed since the world voted to help the aliens. 5.4.3.2.1. Launch. In the Gobi Desert, the biggest rocket humans had ever built roared to life. But this wasn't like the old rockets that used chemical fuel. This was something new and terrifying and beautiful. Nuclear explosions pushed the giant ship called Lifeline up into space. Each explosion was controlled, timed perfectly, pushing the 300-meter ship faster and faster. The light was so bright that people could see it from 300 kilometers away. "Telemetry is good," reported Mission Controller Seo-Jin Kim. "Lifeline is accelerating normally. Speed is now 1% of light speed and climbing." Minho felt tears in his eyes. After so many years of listening to that weak signal from space, humanity was finally answering. Inside Lifeline, powerful computers woke up and began checking everything. The ship carried no human crew, but it was packed with machines that could build cities. Atmospheric processors to clean poisoned air, radiation shields to protect against deadly sun rays, medical equipment programmed with everything humans knew about healing, seeds, and genetic samples to grow food, even small factories that could make more machines. Most important of all, Lifeline carried artificial intelligence programs smart enough to figure out what the Velinari needed and how to help them. Speed is now 12% of light speed, Seojin announced. Fusion drive is performing perfectly. Lifeline is on course for Kepler 442. The room full of scientists and engineers cheered. But Minho felt sad too. He would be over 100 years old when Lifeline reached the alien world. He would probably be dead. Most people in this room would be dead. Estimated arrival time is 47 years, 2 months, and 16 days, Seojin said, 40-7 years. Such a long time, far away on the dying world of Kepler 4 to be. Samway had become the new elder scientist. Old Kaithok had died 3 years ago, still hoping someone had heard their messages. The transmitter had gone silent 2 years ago when the power finally ran out. Samway was now responsible for the last 8,000 Velinari. Their underground shelters were failing. The air recyclers broke down every few weeks. The water was getting harder to clean. Food was almost gone. Elder Somway, said her young assistant, Tech Viewer. The people are asking if we should try to reach the northern shelter. They say the air is cleaner there. Somway looked at the radiation readings on her broken computer. The surface was still death. The northern shelter was 500 kilometers away. They would have to travel on the surface in vehicles that barely worked. How many would survive the journey? She asked. Maybe half, maybe less. Somway closed her eyes. Half of her people would die, trying to reach safety. The other half might die if they stayed here. These were the only choices left. We'll wait one more season, she decided. If conditions don't improve, we'll make the journey. She didn't know that help was already on the way, racing through space, at unimaginable speed, back on Earth. Years passed. Dr. Minho Park retired, but kept coming to the Mission Control Center every day to check on Lifeline. The ship sent back reports every month. All systems working. Speed steady. Still on course. Dr. Hannah Lee took over the project when Minho became too old to work. She was a grandmother now, but she remembered being young and excited when they first heard the alien signal. Lifeline is now 25 light years from Earth, she announced at a press conference, halfway to its destination. All systems are still functioning perfectly. Reporters asked the same questions they always asked. Was the ship really going to work? Were the aliens still alive? Would humanity ever know if the mission succeeded? We won't know for another 22 years, Hannah admitted. But the ship is performing better than we hoped. The artificial intelligence is learning and adapting. If anyone can save the Velinari, Lifeline can. On the alien world, conditions got worse every year. Somway was old now, her scales white with age and sickness. Only 3,000 Velinari were still alive. The shelters were breaking down faster than they could fix them. Elder, said Tech Viewer, now grown up and leading his own team, the eastern shelter has gone silent. We think the life support failed. So felt her heart break a little more. 500 more of her people, dead. The eastern shelter had been home to many children, the last generation of Velinari who would ever be born. Do you think Elder Kaithok was right? Tech Viewer asked quietly. Do you think someone heard our messages? Somway looked at the dead transmitter. Kaithok had spent his final years sending signals into space, believing that someone, somewhere, would hear them and care enough to help. I don't know, she said honestly, but I hope he was right. I hope someone out there is kinder than we dared to imagine. Above them, past the poisoned atmosphere and deadly radiation, space was empty and dark. But somewhere in that darkness, moving faster than anything the Velinari had ever built, Lifeline was coming. The ship's computers had been thinking for decades, planning exactly what to do when they arrived. Soon, very soon, they would find out if Hope could travel for light years. Samway woke up to alarms screaming in the underground shelter. She was very old now. Her blue scales faded to almost white. Her joints hurt when she moved, but the loud noise made her sit up quickly. Elder Samway. HFY War came running into her small room. His eyes were wide with shock. The gravitational sensors are going crazy. Something huge just entered our star system. Samway's heart started beating fast. The gravitational sensors hadn't worked properly in 10 years. They were ancient machines that could detect large objects in space, but they usually only picked up asteroids or comets. How huge? She asked, getting out of her sleeping mat. The size of a mountain, maybe bigger, and it's slowing down, like it wants to stop here. Samway felt dizzy. In all her life, nothing that big had ever visited their system. The only things that came near their world were chunks of rock and ice. "Show me," she said. They walked through the narrow tunnels of the shelter. Only 800 Velinari were left alive now. The tunnels that once echoed with thousands of voices were mostly empty and quiet. In the sensor room, other Velinari were gathered around the old screens. The readings showed something impossible. A massive object was approaching their planet, using controlled bursts of energy to slow itself down. "It's artificial," whispered Yeknor, their best engineer. "Look at how it moves. That's not natural. Someone built that thing." Samway stared at the screen. After so many years of waiting and hoping, could this be real? Suddenly, the shelter shook, not from their dying sun this time, but from something happening in their atmosphere. Through the thick walls, they could hear new sounds, mechanical sounds, the sound of machines working. "Everyone stay calm," Samway ordered, though her own voice was shaking. "HFY War, try to get the surface cameras working." HFY War ran to an old computer terminal. Most of their surface equipment had been destroyed years ago by radiation, but a few cameras might still work. The screen flickered, and then showed the surface of their world. For the first time in decades, Samway could see the sky clearly, but what she saw made her gasp. Huge metal objects were falling from space, but they weren't crashing. They were landing gently, using bright flames to control their descent. As soon as they touched the ground, they began to unfold like flowers made of metal. "What are they doing?" asked Tech-VOR.Sam-Way, watched in amazement as the machines began building things. Some started putting up tall poles that crackled with energy. Others began spraying something into the air. Within minutes, the deadly red color of their poisoned sky began to change. "They're cleaning our atmosphere," she whispered. "And those poles, I think they're radiation shields." More objects fell from the sky. These ones were different. They looked like seeds, but they were the size of buildings. When they hit the ground, they burrowed deep and began working underground. Samway called, Yeknor from another computer. "The radiation levels are dropping. Fast. Whatever these machines are doing, they're working." For the first time in 40 years, Samway dared to hope. Then something wonderful happened. A new sound came through their communication system. It was weak and scratchy, but it was definitely a signal from outside. The signal played a pattern of numbers. Prime numbers. The same ones that Elder Kythok had sent into space all those years ago. Then came a new message, transmitted in the same mathematical language the Velinari had used. "We heard you. We came." Samway fell to her knees and cried. After all these years, someone had answered. Over the next few days, the changes continued. The sky turned from poisonous red to clean blue. The radiation levels dropped so low that Samway could actually open the shelter doors for the first time in her adult life. She stepped onto the surface of her world and breathed real air. The sun, still red and angry, no longer hurt to look at because of the energy shields protecting the planet. The giant ship in orbit continued to send down more machines. Some began building new structures that looked like they were designed for Velinari to live in. Others started growing plants that could survive on their damaged world. How did they know what we needed? Asked Tekvor, standing beside her on the surface. Samway looked up at the stars, which were visible now through the clean atmosphere. They listened, and they cared enough to help. The ship's computers had learned everything about Velinari biology from their old signals. They knew what kind of air the Velinari breathed, what foods they ate, what kind of shelter they needed. The machines were building a new world designed specifically for Samway's people. As weeks passed, more Velinari emerged from the underground shelters. Children saw sunlight for the first time. Adults remembered what their world used to look like before the radiation. Samway worked with the ship's artificial intelligence to send a new message back toward Earth. It would take 47 years to arrive, but she wanted the humans to know that their incredible gift had worked. The message was simple. Thank you. We live because you cared. The Velinari will never forget. But Samway didn't know that dozens of other alien species throughout the galaxy had detected the powerful signals between Earth and her world. The news was spreading. There was a young species called humanity that would cross impossible distances to save complete strangers. The small cry for help that Kaithok had whispered into space had been answered by something that would echo through the stars forever.